say, best embodiment resources in the world ever. And also going to name my teachers because I'm a big believer in kind of crediting, and that also gives you places to look. So those of you, many of you know these courses. So Certificate of Embodiment Coaching, KEC. Some of you guys are on the LEC, the live version, so more or less the same course, either online or in person. So new people, if you're like James, maybe this might be something you might want to do next year, for example. Embodied Toolkit, this is February to July. And then we have August off for the summer, and this one is September to December. Embodied Toolkit, so all the poses we've been doing and all the different things, that's Embodied Toolkit. And they fit together basically to make a year-long course. I tend to mentor people as well, so I also have a mentoring program, usually for graduates. So that is an ongoing thing. We look at excellence in coaching, so you can see me still with Amar. I'm still sort of in that role to some extent. And also marketing side of things, like how to make a business out of this. Me and Emily talk about this, and have a little group for that. So that's sort of follow on. So there are main courses. There's others we do, like one on people pleasing coming up and things like that. If you're on LEC, just be on LEC, okay? You don't need to sign up for people pleasing or anything else. You could do it in a light way if you wanted, if it was really like your main thing that you really want, but I'd say better to focus on LEC so you don't do too much. All right, other resources. Instagram, that's where all the 1 minute videos will be. All the 1 minute coaching videos, which is a really quick way to see a lot of techniques. We're also on YouTube and Facebook. They're all on all three, so you don't have to follow all three. Obviously, YouTube also has the bigger videos on. So the bigger videos like this are on YouTube. And in terms of like things you might want to review if you're subscribed to Embodiment Unlimited, YouTube is there. Embodiment Unlimited also has a Facebook group, which is pretty civilized, unlike most Facebook. It's pretty respectful and calm and helpful and nice, and people ask for resources and say, what's a good practice for this? And who knows someone who's good with teenagers or whatever. So, that's a resource if you do Facebook. You know my books. If you're on LEC, you should have the first one and the second one, okay? I think I've run out of books to sell today, but they are available in all the normal places. Just put Mark Walsh Embodiment in. You can't really learn embodiments from a book. I would say, though, the first one is sort of inspiring, interesting. Second one's a textbook for if you're learning embodied facilitation, embodied coaching. I'm not that big on books for embodiment, to be honest. Podcast, again, just for fun. What I think the podcast is great for is seeing the range of teachers. So in a very light way, when you're driving or washing up or whatever, you can just get exposed and just flick through it. Listen to the first 5 minutes. If you don't like the teacher, skip to the next one. And I think for students to understand the range of what's out there, the podcast is a brilliant resource. There's a few other podcasts out there that are pretty good as well. What's another good embodiment podcast? There's The Emerald with Josh. That's brilliant. And there's Embodied Matters or Embodied Living. There's a couple that are quite good. So if you get sick of my voice, then there's other good podcasters out there. All right. Our events, we do lots of 1 and 2 day events. They're always different. So even if it's like centering or 4 elements, something you've done before, it will be radically different. Mira has been to 19 of my trainings. She does our social media. She hasn't got a visa to come to England, so you won't meet her here. And she says every time I'm doing like 20% different than she's ever seen before. And she's been to like 19 of trainings. So there's always stuff to learn. And you can always book extra ones if you're on LEC. If you fancy a little holiday in, I don't know, Slovenia or somewhere nice, Czechia or somewhere. The intensives are the 7-day ones, 6 or 7 days. In nature, they are A, certifications in their own right, okay, but B, for students of KEC and LEC, is where you will get the most practice and feedback you ever had. C, they're only ever in beautiful places. We're big believers in embodiment in nature rather than just in a room. Lots of swimming in lakes and walking in mountains and playing in gardens, and it's just a deeper. You can't get that experience when every day you go back to your Airbnb in the city or whatever. LEC students, you need to decide which you're coming to. You need to tell Steve. You need to do that in the next week, okay? So there's currently the options are Pula, which is Croatia, and in Slovenia. We've now got a location for that. They're both going to be gorgeous. LEC students, you have that included, I believe, one of them, but not the travel and stuff. So obviously you've got to sort that. You can do LEC without doing that, but I'd really recommend it and book it in now. Okay, we want to make sure they're happening. We want to make sure we've got the numbers. So, you know, particularly if it's one of them's included for you, do let Steve know or Emily know which you're coming to, in case we have to cancel one of the two, which we don't want to do, but we want to see what the numbers are for both. Yeah. All right. Any questions on any of these? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, but you'll have to pay for it. You'll have to pay for it. So yeah. Next year I'll probably be living in Slovenia, and we will do 2 or 3 long intensives in Slovenia. It's gorgeous. So it's kind of a lifestyle thing as much as for me as anything. I just like doing embodiment in beautiful nature. So nice people too. So it's a very sort of workable, organised, pleasant country. It's easy to, you know, the airport's like in and out in 5 minutes. It's brilliant. So. All right. Yeah, it took me 5 minutes to get through immigration, 5 minutes to get into a lounge, and there's a foosball table at my gate. That was my experience of Ljubljana Airport 2 weeks ago. So it's not like going through fucking Heathrow. Yeah. All right, embodiment teachers. So this is my teachers and teachers I recommend. I'm going to be insulting and upsetting lots of people by missing them out, no doubt. So this will be a big list. My teachers include like my mother and my Aikido teachers and my 500 yoga teachers in Brighton, like Pete Blackaby and Gary Carter and Jim Tarrant. I'm not mentioning all my embodiment practice teachers. These are mostly the embodied coaching and facilitation teachers. So there are also other people you can look up. People obviously I recommend. Some of them are dead, some of them are retired, some of them are old, some of them are still going. So Paul Linden, we've been doing centering. He is the centering master. Do look at his ebooks. Embodied peace building is the one that I recommend, even if you don't want to build peace. Why would you not? But it's all about centering, basically. So look up that. Richard Strozzi Heckler, definitely one of the original OGs of embodiment coaching. He pretty much invented the field. I lived with him, trained with him for a while. His approach is more Californian than mine, let's say. Not everyone likes his style. It's very different than mine, but he's very good. And I don't rate many of his students, if I'm honest, though Tesafai Tekalu, who's a friend of mine and a student of his, is very good. So if you want a sort of next generation in the Strozzi lineage, Tesafai, my friend from Ethiopia, is awesome. So yeah, there's some people there. Wendy Palmer. These guys all knew each other from the Aikido world, so they're all kind of, you know, Richard and Wendy were married for a while. Wendy's deceased now, but her student Anouk Brack in Holland, she's got a daughter. Wendy's work was a big influence on me, and Wendy's work's very good on embodied leadership. So love to Wendy, wherever she is now. Ginny Whitelaw and Stuart Heller were smaller influences on me, but they're both very good. Their books are worth a read if you're someone who likes books. Yeah, I'll give them a read. These guys have all got books too, but Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen, founder of Body Mind Centering. BMC is a great practice if you want to go into experiential anatomy or embryological work, which we did a tiny bit of earlier in a very light way. Awesome. You could spend a week embodying your liver or something of the like, really like in-depth work. Not necessarily like so much on the coaching front like these guys, but like raw in-depth experience of embodiment. We're doing rhythms today, so like Gabrielle Roth, 5 Rhythms. I'm not a huge fan of her books, though I am a huge fan of dancing. So, you know, really good way to explore the rhythms work we've been doing. The cycles work, like Jane was doing, you know, I highly recommend. There's other people in that field, but just dancing different rhythms and cycles, and, you know, really recommend doing like a 2-day heartbeat workshop, for example. And there's lots of good teachers locally, internationally. I like Adam Barley a lot, who's not with 5 Rhythms now, but was. Yakov and Suzanne Darling-Khan, movement medicine, they have sort of indigenous wisdom combined with that. They're very good. There's lots of good, you know, 5 Rhythms teachers and offshoots of 5 Rhythms teachers. In terms of the Embodiment Unlimited teachers, obviously you've met Jane. I think very lucky to have her here. You may have seen we do a lot of free online events. If you just go to embodimentunlimited.com, you'll probably already get the newsletters, but for anyone watching this, you can register. Once every 1 or 2 months, we do a free event. And it's usually either like a one-off, like I just did one on people-pleasing, or like we're doing 3 days on people-pleasing in the near future. Or we'll do 3 days on women's cycles, or 3 days on trauma, or 3 days on coaching, or whatever. That, if you want a taste of all our teachers plus some guests, is really good. So you'll see Christina, for example, who I co-teach with. You might see Patricia from Mexico. She's good, very kind of femme approach, very deep. Alexandra Vilvoskaya, now in Israel. She's been my colleague for many years, like a decade. So really deep in the work, some of these teachers. Flower in Italy, Ranko in Croatia. You'll see familiar things, but like with Jane, presented in a totally different style. I always say at Embodiment Unlimited, we have a core of work that we all know, but I allow teachers a lot of flexibility with how they do it, how they present it. Like, I wasn't micromanaging Jane this weekend. I just said, look, teach this, and she did it however she wanted. And that just means that we have this nice pluralistic way of looking at embodiment. That's not always the case elsewhere. Dylan Newcomb, absolute genius, friend of mine. He's one of the most intelligent, creative people in the embodiment world. He's kind of my generation or a little bit older. And Dylan's work is fantastic. Again, if you're on LEC, this is next year, okay? You go pick one of these next year and go train with them. For now, do this, and then eventually. The reason I mention it is sometimes people say, like, I'm the only thing in this field. That's bullshit. Yeah, so I like to name good people who I respect. Okay, so if you don't get on with me or something I say, or you just want to change, there's lots of good stuff. Like Dylan and I are competitors, but we're also friends. Yeah, so it's people I like. In the trauma world, the trauma rock stars, trauma, so hot right now. Lots of people in that field, Stephen Porges, David Baselli, they're two of the good guys. I like Kathy Kane a lot. I like Debs Dana a lot. Irene Lyons is pretty good. Yeah, there's other people I'm not mentioning by omission. I won't say anything bad about them, but they're the people I do recommend. Richard Swartz is good, parts work. There's lots of good trauma people. Off camera, I'll tell you the gossip about all the famous ones and how much arseholes they can be behind cameras. So, no, there are some really nice ones. Stephen Porges, for example, is a total teddy bear, and polyvagal theory is something we should all study. So, with him or Debs, yeah. Good. Ken Wilber is the guy for me who brings it all together. Anyone know Ken's work, Integral Theory? Close personal friend, lovely man, cleverest person I've ever met. If you want like a meta theory to bring everything together, Ken is amazing. The other person I'd recommend is John Vervaeke, who's a Canadian philosopher, and his sort of 100-hour introduction to Western philosophy series will situate any kind of knowledge work in a very rich way. If you really want to geek out, John's your man. John or Ken, they're your men. So yeah, for a mega geek out, you should check out John or Ken. Good. Anything you want to add? People you want to name? Influences on you, like Uma or...
internal family systems,
yeah, Richard Swartz. Oh, there's a somatic version of Dick Schwartz's work. Yeah. Okay, good. Anyone else, Emily? Anyone? There's probably someone watching this who's a close personal friend who does great work, and I'm totally forgetting because I'm tired. So if that's you, what's that? Oh, David. David's lovely. Yeah, from the Trauma Front. Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness, David Trevelyan. Lovely man. Yes. My colleague Daniela has a massive crush on him, and we're just going to put that all on the internet to publicly shame Daniela. So, David's great. Anyone else people like in the embodiment space? Gabor Mate. Yes, very popular right now. Hear mixed things about compassionate inquiry work. I had coaching from him. You can see it live on YouTube. Personally, for me, I've got mixed feelings. I think he's done great work, and he's also a massive communist. And I think politically we should be very careful of people in the trauma world who have a strong leaning towards the far left or the far right. And I think we should be equally as cautious as the far left as the far right. And for me, Gabor does really good work. I think to be fair to him, he emphasizes the societal context of trauma, which is really important. And he was one of the first to do that, so credit to him. And that's half the picture. It's half the picture. It's like mum without dad. Yeah. So, Gabor, good stuff, worth a look if you haven't looked at it, but not without criticism. He's not Saint Gabor, which seems to be the latest way of looking at him. Yeah. Bessel van der Kolk, I don't know him personally. His book, The Body Keeps the Score, is kind of seminal in terms of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, next question.
Chris Wolsey.
Don't know Chris. Who's Chris?
From the States, does a lot of stuff with
He's done stuff he's TRE trained from David Baselli. Yeah, he's more of a Baselli student, but he's been in Singapore, that's how you know him, right? Yeah. Dan Siegel, yeah, good stuff on neuroscience for sure. Dan Siegel, yeah. All right, we could keep going forever, right? There's a reason I've had 550 guests on the podcast. There's lots of great people, and I try not to be bitchy, because honestly, everyone brings something to the party. You know, some people should have retired, some people are politically biased, some of the Americans are very culturally biased. They just don't have a like, if I were to take half the American embodiment teachers to Ukraine or Russia, they would be eaten alive. Like, they just wouldn't be able to communicate in terms of the cultural bias that they have. So, you know, different things work for different people. I have my own bias, but what I try and do is say, look, if you hate Mark Walsh or you just get bored of Mark Walsh after 2 or 3 years of study, there are other good teachers out there. I think any teacher who claims that they're the only one, the only style, be very, very afraid. That is not a good look. So, yeah, lots of good people out there. So, thank you. Good.